representing the tenant, obviously we're going to be looking for provisions throughout the lease that are um, that help clarify the relationship with the landlord, duties and obligations of each party on either side of the transaction. You know, the some of the basics that I look for is always the term, right? How long is the term of the lease? Are there rent escalators? When do
Mhm.
those rent escalators kick in? What are they based upon? Is it a percentage? Is it a flat rate? Um, at what point do those get triggered? Sometimes they're triggered based on revenue of a landlord potentially, or excuse me, of a tenant, or ob- um, some other provision or area. So, I mean, understanding those rent escalators, obviously, if I'm looking at it from a tenant's perspective, are obviously super important.
And I think that's a great point because a lot of times a tenant will just look at the initial rent rate and what is that going to cost them per month, and they aren't taking into account.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's an annual rent escalator. Sometimes you have a rent escalation upon a renewal option. Those types of things, and really, especially when you have an annual rent escalator in the initial term, that can have a pretty big, impact, or at least a somewhat significant impact on cash flow, and it's something that they should plan for.
Absolutely. I mean, as a tenant looking at this, you want to make sure that your obviously your lease and your monthly obligation fits within your pro forma for your business too. So if you're not planning on there being a 2 or 3% escalator after year one, you didn't think that that kicked in until after the first 5 year term or something like that. It's important to know what's in the lease and what the monthly costs are going to be. On top of that, another provision that I look for that is sometimes overlooked or misunderstood is the difference between a gross lease and a triple net lease.